It's a classic case of, that's a really good idea, until you actually do it and you realize, man, that was a dumb idea. That's right, I totally screwed up, and today I'm going to show you exactly what I did and how I remedied it, only on this episode of the Fabrication series. Now, about 5 years ago, my buddy Paul asked me to build him an engine. Now, this engine is nothing really specific or anything kind of particular. It's actually just a 4G64 2.4 liter Mitsubishi with a Hyundai G4JS cylinder head mated to the top of it. Now, what they usually end up calling this is a Chivo or a cheap Evo, and there's a bunch of different names for it and whatnot, but the concept of sticking it on there is nothing new, but the reason why is because the Hyundai G4JS cylinder head is much like an Evo. It's almost identical. There's only a few subtle differences in it. But when you stick the two of them together, you get yourself a pretty, really awesome power plant. So Paul sent me, called me up one day, sent me a message, whatever, and he says, hey, is there any way that you can get rid of this DOHC 16 valve? Is there any way to make all that go away? I was like, absolutely, yeah, send it off to me. So initially, I start the whole process of cleaning it up. I grab a hold of some VHT aggressive paint remover or paint stripper. It's really awesome. Grab myself a brush, clean all of this up here really delicately and really cleanly and nicely, and then I start filling it in. Now, the whole idea here is that I'm going to buzz all of this together, fill in all of that stuff on there, and, machine it all down, stick it on the CNC, and make it all one piece. And, of course, nobody would ever really notice it at the end of the day when it was all done, but it was like, let's just fill all of this in, cut it all out of one piece, and make it look like it was almost a factory cast cover. Now, this is the genius idea behind it. I'm like, I'm all about it. Let's give it a roll. But I should have known a few different things here, a couple of telltale signs. Like when I'm starting to weld the aluminum here, I concentrate a lot of the heat here on the actual piece, or on the actual aluminum that's getting stacked up, but I am welding on cast aluminum, and cast aluminum has a lot of imperfections on it, a lot of difficulties, and this should have been my number one sign right here. As I'm sitting here trying to weld this, it starts blowing out. You can see all these sparks and all this crap just blowing away everywhere, to the point where I'm just sitting here like, hurry up, not gonna weld. Yeah, it was a pain in the butt to actually do, but eventually, I kept on going at it. Ignore the telltale signs that, this might not be a good idea. Keep on welding it, keep on going with it, and as soon as I have all of it actually finished up and welded here, yes, it looks like a big pile of snot, and it looks terrible, but at the same time, all of that's going to get machined off of there, and all of it is going to have become this great thing. Now, I only build about 2 hours for this job, and that's what I really based it off of. So after getting it all set up on the CNC machine, even though it took the better part of about 45 minutes to weld all of that, I'm not too far behind here. So as long as the CNC does its job, we're good to go. So first we run off with a facing path. I'm going to get all of this knocked down nice and level and even, so that way I have a good idea of what the top of it looks like, and then we'll start cutting out all of the letters. Now, pretty simple. I'm going to run just a basic tool path here just to see exactly where I'm at. Now, after we get all of this cut out on the first round here, it'll actually reveal what I'm looking at or what I have to deal with. Now, you gotta promise that you're not gonna laugh at me as soon as I get this into focus, okay? But check this out. Look at this. I totally missed. Now, the T, the S, all of this good stuff right here, this is totally missed. I missed all that. Look at all of these holes here, right around the emblem here. We got a bunch of holes now. Here's the problem, all right? That can all be fixed. As we look really carefully into this, all this can be fixed. Now, how much time is it going to take me to go back, fill that in, and then try to run this path again to get it dead on where it needs to be? It's almost not going to happen. Now, if this is only on the surface of what was after one tool path, I'm kind of screwed. I'm going to be on this thing for hours. So, the only option I have right now is to completely redo this job with something else. So I went straight over to Mastercam, drafted up in the correct size a 3D version of the Mitsubishi emblem that needs to go onto this valve cover. Right? Now, I don't want to take forever on this tool path to actually cut all this out. Now, this is coming out of some, I believe it was a 1/4 inch aluminum that I cut all of this out of. Now, I'm going to run a really a fast tool path. Now, all of these little blue lines and everything that you see on here, this looks like it's going to be a whole lot of work to actually do it. But this is a high-speed dynamic tool path, which I'm going to run and then chase it out with the contour path to cut all the letters out individually. Finally, I'll cut the whole thing out of here. Now this looks like a whole lot of machining, and on the actual code, we're looking at 110,000 lines of code just to cut this piece out of here. And that seems like a lot, but the amount of metal that it takes away as we queue up the machine here and show you, the amount of work that it does and the amount of metal that it takes away as it's cutting is dramatically more than your average just contour or pocket type of tool path where it just cuts out a single line at a time. This takes off a lot of metal, a whole lot of metal. And the best part about that is we may do a lot more work or a lot more movement, but it does it in less time because it takes off more metal at the same time. So we'll get it all cut out here. Watch this baby run. I love staring at dynamic tool paths, I'm not even gonna lie. I can stare at this stuff all day long. This is awesome. Once everything's all cut out, we're going to go ahead and cut this whole piece off completely and get ready for transplant. Now I do have to get the old stuff back off of the valve cover, and you might think that'd be an extremely difficult task and maybe I'm crazy for doing it the way that I did, but realistically speaking here, all you really have to do is get a good ceramic flap disc and grind it all back down. Now there might be a few other ways to do it, but a good ceramic flap disc will make sure that it makes light work out of it. 10-12 minutes tops to get all that stuff off of there. So now we're going to take our new piece that was cut on the CNC, trace all of it out, cut it with the grinder, and then we'll just simply transplant it. No big deal. Look at this, I love this part. It just fits right in there exactly the way it would need to be. It's perfect. This is the way it actually should have been done the entire time. Now, here's the difficult part. Now, I'm going to go really slow and at normal speed here, but as I always say in every single one of my videos, when it comes to taking down metal with a flap disc, remember, you let the flap disc do the work, not your muscles. You don't want to dig into this, you want to nicely blend it, but the biggest thing that we have to really pay attention to here is watch out for the letters. Do not grind the letters down. Now I'm going to speed this up here and you can actually see how long it kind of takes to actually go. And we're going to do multiple passes, very light, let the flap just do all the work, and then we're simply just going to blend it all in. Now I'm going to do the same thing on all sides here, and you'll notice at the end of this, even after I get done with it, there are some impurities and some imperfections that are going to show out of that. We'll deal with that. Don't worry about it. But all you really got to do right now is mainly just focus on getting that metal down and make sure that you do not hit the letters at all. That is very, very important. Do not hit the letters because it's going to look absolutely terrible and it'll be very noticeable that it was done like this. Now, to make it look a little bit less sharp and machined, I actually hit it with a wire brush and just to kind of take it down a little bit, get rid of some of those tool path marks and knock down the edges a little bit so it looks a little bit more cast. Now, in order to fill all these little dings and imperfections and holes and porous amounts and whatnot and any kind of impurities or irregularities in the height of it, we need something that's actually going to fill it in like a nice good solid putty, but will take the heat of powder coating if he chooses to do powder coating or any kind of high heat temperature that the engine is going to actually give. And the best thing to use for that one, if you don't have any industrial two-part epoxies, the best compounder epoxy off the shelf is JB Weld because it'll fill it in, you can sand it down nicely, and it will take the heat. And while all of that goes on there, I'm actually going to go and attack this, do the vented valve cover mod for him because he's using an external catch can. Make sure you click this video card if you're not sure about how to do that. I got a really great video on it. And then we're going to sand all of this down. Now here are before and after of the entire job. Now that is a really awesome difference. You got the old one versus the new one down there, and that's really, really cool. Now, if you do follow along on the social media pages of the fabrication series, such as Instagram and Facebook, check the description below if you don't know the links and you're not following already. I will absolutely update you and keep you going on what exactly Paul does what it looks like when it's finished, and all the rest of that stuff back and installed on his car. But there you have a really good idea of exactly what it takes to rebrand a product like this, or rebrand a valve cover. Now, it's not just limited to just doing valve covers. There's all kinds of different applications that you can actually stick this in here, and it's one of those little subtle touches that maybe nobody will ever notice unless they really know about what they're looking at. Now, me personally, if I was to walk up to this engine, I would know right off the get-go, Mitsubishi never actually stamped their or cast their logo or anything into an engine like this. They never had one. And I think that's one of those really unique, subtle touches that will completely change it. Now, if it's like a case of, like, let's just say it's a show car or something like that, there's going to be one of those things like you can just say that this is what was done to it, and that might be that one point that got you over and got you the win. Either way, it's a really cool idea, and it's an awesome thing to do. Now, remember, sometimes the first idea that you have is really not the best thing, and you actually got to go through and rethink that and work according with it. Now this, you'll never notice the difference between the two of these, you know, or you'll never probably know that it was actually transplanted on there, because it's going to look so factory once it's actually completely finished. And that's one of those really awesome things. But we managed to do that with a transplant in less time than it took to actually weld all of that stuff up and, you know, try to make it happen. But either way, that's about how it's done, and that about wraps it up for this episode. So I'd really like to thank you guys, as always, for watching the fabrication series. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all of these other videos. Hit me up on Facebook.com/Fabricator Series, Instagram at the.fabricator, thefabricationseries.com website. You can email me, check out the blogs, all the rest of that good stuff. I'll see you guys on the next episode.